One of the most significant news regarding Ripple was made just 10 days ago, and it was the purchase of Hidden Road. I stated that this is far larger than what is being disclosed even when it was first announced. And I think we now have all the tools necessary to truly examine this and put it into perspective, demonstrating how significant it is, not only for Ripple but also for XRP. Having said that, welcome to Peepo Coin channel. If you're new to the channel, you will become a subscriber by the end of this video. Now let's get started with the first announcement. As I mentioned earlier, we received this announcement 10 days ago. Alright, so here is Brad Garlinghouse's comment. If we visit his article, we can see that it was a significant announcement because he stated that this is a deal. It represents a once-in-a-lifetime chance for cryptocurrencies to get access to the biggest and most reliable traditional markets, and vice versa. At first, we concentrated on the capital, correct? What is the annual amount of money being transferred? What number of financial institutions were involved? We already know that there were more than 300 leading financial organizations worldwide and that it was $3 trillion annually. Naturally, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse affirmed that this is the investment and activity that will access XRP and the XRP ledgers, which are the foundation for instantaneous, effective, scalable, and inexpensive value transfer. Listen, I don't care if people are upset about how XRP isn't moving despite all of this positive news. Pay attention, I've said it a lot, it's all about the pressure increasing and increasing. All of these announcements will be significant when the market stabilizes and things begin to improve. Furthermore, we have confirmation that this sum of money is entering the XRP ledger. We're going to see billions and then trillions of dollars on the XRP ledger at first, albeit it might not be the entire $3 trillion. That isn't even anything we could speculate on anymore, in my opinion. This announcement was significant because, in my opinion, it is now a fact. However, if we take a closer look, you'll see that Matthew Lin Y wrote a fantastic essay supporting this, and I also brought this to our attention when we visited Hidden Road's website because they are active in derivatives, foreign exchange, and a host of other markets. However, as you can see, Ripple now offers direct access to BlackRock tokenized assets through Hidden Road. And these are all of the related exchanges if we really take a look at this. First off, that exchange is significant since SDX is a SIX company. Do some research and seek up SDX if you're unfamiliar with them. It would make you realize just how large SDX is, I promise you. Quant and I discussed them in 2021, 2022, and even 2023. However, we have down below that fully supports BlackRock's Build token as collateral in its credit network, in addition to integrating with the venues mentioned above. Additionally supported are the following ISVs, similar to what Hidden Roads has to offer. Apart from that, however, we do now have access to BlackRock's Build token. And since all of the bridges are beginning to be built, I believe that's a major one to truly concentrate on. Now all of the big names are beginning to get tapped in. And it's insane since all the routes back to XRP and Ripple are visible here. Everyone is missing that, correct? They believe that it will simply be bullish for Ripple. No, they affirm that the primary focus remains on XRP and the XRPL. However, despite this, Kahneman wrote a fantastic essay because SBI only recently, on the 12th, began to discuss and highlight the acquisition of the secret road. We have something important here. It's intriguing to me that SBI has formally announced Ripple's acquisition of the buried road. With the plans for the Osaka exchange, there are undoubtedly some intriguing opportunities. SBI Holdings Inc. and SBI Ripple Asia Company Limited are happy to announce that Ripple Labs Inc., a significant SBI Group partner, has declared that they would use cash, XRP, and treasury shares to purchase Hidden Road, a significant prime broker. Yes, this is a huge issue, you know. Although many individuals will undoubtedly look into this more, we are generally aware of SBI's bullishness regarding Ripple and even XRP. In other words, the CEO of SBI has repeatedly expressed his tremendous optimism about Ripple and the future of XRP for years on end, and even declared at one point that XRP will be used by all of Japan's big institutions. Many people question whether or not that is his true comment. It isn't very important. All we know is that SBI has been very optimistic about XRP and Ripple. The announcement of SBI Ripple Asia was made, I believe, in 2023. Now that I think about it, it might have been 2024. However, we continue to observe significant growth with SBI every year. I recall the actions being taken with SBI as early as 2021. Despite being involved in a lawsuit, which is kind of bizarre, they were nevertheless quite large. Apart from that, however, today's important news was released. Actually, yesterday. Now it's only going to be 1 week. Following that announcement, we at Hidden Road were granted a license to function as a broker-dealer as part of the company's efforts to engage more institutional investors by expanding its prime brokerage business. Now, just to sort of confirm exactly what this means for Crypto Insight UK's Hidden Road or Ripple, actually, a good friend of mine broke this down nicely. I have been stating that the Ripple Hidden Road purchase is more significant than most people realize. I absolutely concur. Their application for a FINRA broker-dealer license has now been granted. FINRA, what is it? Therefore, the U.S. government has given this self-regulatory organization the authority to supervise brokerage businesses and their registered representatives. It establishes roles, enforces adherence, and protects the integrity of the market. A broker-dealer, what is it? A broker-dealer is an individual or business that acts as a broker for customers, purchasing and selling securities such as stocks and bonds. Trade securities as a dealer for their own account. A FINRA broker-dealer license, what is it? A corporation or individual can lawfully engage in brokerage or dealer operations through a multi-component registration process rather than a single license. Important actions to obtain a license include registering the company with FINRA. Additionally, we have a Form BD to join FINRA, which includes background checks on applications, business plans, and more. Register with the SEC and the appropriate state regulators after passing the necessary tests for people. Series 7 General Securities Representatives, and frequently the Series 63 or 66 state exams for principals and supervisors, as well as Series 24 General Securities Principals. Why it matters. First, you must be able to lawfully purchase and sell shares on behalf of other people. As we already know, the size of the securities markets ensures adherence to U.S. securities rules and fosters credibility and trust among investors and clients. And presumably, CBT provided the reason for all of this through chat. Nevertheless, the XRP ledger now allows for all of this to occur. I concur. As far as Crypto Insight UK is concerned, this, in my opinion, is a big problem. When we truly consider everything that is going on in the securities industry and traditional markets, tokenization is the most common thing we have heard, isn't it? We recently learned that the total value of tokenized real-world assets is expected to reach 18.9 trillion. This is still very conservative in my opinion. Okay, Ripple also made a post about this. Many pricing projections on the amount that could be tokenized by 2030 or 2033 have been made. The range has been between 16 trillion and 30 trillion. Some have even said that it could be as much as 50 trillion. The amount of money that will be tokenized over the next 5 years or so is unknown. However, I am confident that some of the largest markets will begin to move on-chain. How am I aware of that? Am I making this up? Is it my imagination? No. The DTCC, which settles securities valued at over $3 quadrillion annually, is already discussing using DLT. Their entire business strategy is to be automated and digitalized. SWIFT is considering DLT's implementation and integration of this kind of technology into the actual full network, which connects to 11,000 institutions. In addition to the DTCC, aside from that, DLT and blockchain-based payments are being discussed by all major banks. In other words, I don't think we should be rushing to prepare a strategy right now because, well, I have to sell in the next few months and I need to